On Sunday, February 25th, 2024, the Southeast region hosted a Zoom presentation about the proposed plain language big book that GSO is preparing. This needs to be approved by the General Service Conference that will be meeting in a couple of months. It was very encouraging to see that there were 1,000 people signed into view. That was the limit of the Zoom room. There is clearly a lot of interest in this subject. Let me disclose up front, I'm a skeptic. With that said, before I tuned into Zoom, I offered up a prayer and asked for strength, courage, and wisdom to listen with an open mind and an open heart, and I did my best to do just that. Let's do the same here and have a friend read some lines from the 11th step prayer.
Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. That where there is error, I may bring truth. That where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness. That where there are shadows, I may bring light. And grant that I may seek to understand than to be understood.
Thank you very much. The chairperson opened the meeting and introduced Clint M., the Plain Language Big Book Subcommittee Chair, and no surprise that both expressed enthusiasm for the project. For the remainder of the 2-hour session, the 11 delegates from the Southeast region in attendance were allowed to ask questions that had been supplied by people in their areas. One of the questions asked was about the brief 2 hours that the delegates would be given to examine the work before they voted to approve it or not. Well, Clint stressed the necessity of such a schedule because there would be other issues to consider at the General Service Conference. Ooh, that was a deflection. That did not address the issue of approving this piece of work after just a superficial glance. And I'm very disappointed that no one challenged that answer by asking, what's the rush? Why does this decision have to be made this year? If we gave the delegates a year to examine this writing, wouldn't they be able to make a much more informed decision at next year's conference? But we went on, and there were some questions posed about taking God out of the plain language big book. There were reassurances given, but no tangible examples, and just the same talking points that we've heard from New York right from the beginning. And then another person asked specifically if God was still going to be a he. I don't think we really got an answer to that. Clint seemed to dance around a little bit and returned to the assurance that God would remain in the book. Then someone asked if there would be any gender issues that would be concerning. Well, Clint pulled up the talking point that we've heard all along. The jaywalker is going to be a woman. But a few questions later, someone got a bit more specific. They asked if there would be any changes from him or her transformed to they or them. Well, Clint seemed to squirm a little bit, and he said that he didn't think so. Clint, honey, that was a yes or no question. You know exactly what's in that book. It appeared to me that you dodged that question. But then a few minutes later, he was asked how the book is going to handle the chapters 2 wives and the family afterwards. This time he gave a very specific answer. He said that the 2 wives chapter will be renamed 2 partners. After the meeting, I was somewhat uncomfortable, but I was also very encouraged. The questions asked and the interest that the fellowship has in this project tell me that we are awake. The upside-down triangle governing structure that is the heart of AA business has worked for us in the past, and it surely can work for us again here. However, when I woke the next morning, I had this very uncomfortable feeling. After sleeping on this, it was clear that this was not an information session. It was a sales pitch. It was designed to influence the delegates. There was a survey taken at the beginning of the session asking how many people were in favor of this project, and a majority on Zoom said no. Then after the session, that same survey question was asked again. And this time, the majority were in favor. The survey holds no credibility, none. At the beginning of this meeting, there were 1,000 delegates, or 1,000 people logged in. And when that question was asked a second time, there were just a few hundred people left. The fact that that was not mentioned at all, instead, the chair mentioned that it was wonderful that this session had changed so many minds. I ask once again, why is GSO pushing this so hard? Why are they in such a hurry to publish this? Why was this treated as a translation and kept under the cloak of secrecy? The fear that many of us have is that this book is a woke reinterpretation of our message hidden inside a translation. And there was nothing provided in this session that even began to address that concern. I urge you, contact your GSR, contact your area delegate and your alternate delegate. They are your voice. They need to know what you think, good or bad. Write GSO directly. Alcoholics Anonymous belongs to all of us, and GSO is there to serve us, not to govern us. Be loud, but use restraint of pen and tongue. Be persistent and base your opinions on the traditions and the concepts. It may be that the future of our program is on the line here. Thank you for listening.